whatnot, because there is still a lot of dogs off the leash at Sunbend Park. I have spent many years, as you all know, fighting for the homeless. People are, take their own judgment on other people's opinion about me and can't think for themselves. I sued the city, eight years ago? Come on, get over it. I also had people say, why haven't you contacted me about helping you guys figure out solutions with the homeless? And somebody up there said, well, yes, with the city. Well, Tim Quick did too. You don't have a problem working with him. Doesn't make sense. I work for an organization called For People's Campaign nationwide. I asked Shauna to be a participant in this group because I represent Grace Harbor. I have said this numerous times at this council meeting. I've also helped with Seattle Indian Health Board get tiny homes. We got 16 tiny homes up in Seattle. We also made a hotel that was 92 units, made that into a place for homeless to go from homelessness to a restricted apartments to get them jobs and whatnot. But there's so much this town, this committee can do, and I've said this for years, even when Simpson was here, this town could do so much. But we also get council members that bully other council members, and that's not right. I've had council members bully me, and it's not right. I mean, I lost a job, a could-be job for a bus driver that was blown away because a council member said I was crushing on her daughter. And so this, like I've said before, since Simpson was here, we need to keep your guys' feelings about personal stuff out the door. Act like council members here. Don't let your opinions affect other council members. Let them think for themselves. I had that lady last year that was going around saying I was a pedophile. A pedophile. And I had to get a restraining order on her. So what I'm trying to say is, let's act professional up there and
It's your time.
don't let other people think for you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from the public? Ladies.
Good evening. My name is Lane Mortimer. I reside in Montesano, and I've worked for the police department for 20 years. A lot can happen in 60 years. Graduations, careers, grandchildren, and a wealth of experience gained and passed along. Between animal control and parking enforcement, the city of Aberdeen has been fortunate to benefit from over 60 years of combined public service from Chris Sedor, Kaylee Steed, and George Welch. Chris and George have each served the citizens of Aberdeen for more than 25 years, and Kaylee is coming up on 10 years. They haven't done this work for praise, recognition, or social media attention. They have done it out of a deep, quiet commitment to the city and its residents. Most of us at some point have either heard, witnessed, or personally benefited from the support and knowledge that animal control and parking enforcement provide. Whether it's a barking dog, a feral cat, lost pet, abandoned vehicle, parking issue, these situations were resolved not by chance, but by the consistent dedication of these loyal representatives of our city. Now their jobs and essential services they provide are at risk. As part of the citywide review of department budgets, each department was asked to recommend areas for cost savings. Unfortunately, the police department recommended eliminating animal control and parking enforcement entirely. I urge you to consider the real impact this decision would have, not just on Chris, Kaylee, and George, but on the safety, order, and well-being of Aberdeen. These cuts are not just numbers and spreadsheets. They are real people, real services, and the quality of life in our community. Consider the day-to-day impact. Dangerous animals safely quarantined, has returned home. The public educated on animal laws, safety, and also traffic laws from parking enforcement. Abandoned vehicles, dilapidated RVs, and blocked roadways cleared to maintain order and safety. To say these positions are not part of the core safety of the police department is a fundamental misunderstanding of their role. Every task they perform contributes to the safety and efficiency of our
That's
city.
your time's up.
I'm asking you to consider to please keep their jobs. Thank you.
Thank you. Finals.
My name's Shona. I don't know what order thing. I'm over by Beach Street 7-Eleven, so, both 7-Eleven and I, the workers there have made numerous attempts to clear out people that have been loitering and smoking and leaving a bunch of garbage. I have surveillance that around my house, that has shown this. I had to make a report last night of a vehicle pulling up behind my house. The guy was getting out of the driver's seat and taking a piss outside the house, outside of his truck. I did let him know he was being recorded and told him he needed to go somewhere else. And he didn't say, he didn't acknowledge me, but I know he heard me. I know both me and someone, like I said, have been trying to get the loitering taken down. I do babysit a 10-year-old and I really don't want him seeing all this. I myself have 17 months clean and sober. So I know how hard it is. But that's still, it's kind of hard for me to see that at the same time. So I don't know if we can get a little bit of extra patrol or something that can be done, because there's a bunch of garbage, people loitering all hours of the day and night. Thank you.
Okay, thank you and congratulations. Anybody else?
Late, but I think I'm on time. Yeah, go down Arnold Hill on the right hand side, that car that's just the windows and these things are just coming out of it. And that's like, what happens right now, it's like, it's a safety hazard because that road isn't very, wide. But it's just parked there day after day. It's a trash. It's like the police department, I know they see it, but like, they get the bad boys, what you gonna do when they come for you? Because they are getting them. Okay, but we need to kind of step it up. It's just like, if you encourage it, that's gonna grow. Okay, they'll go someplace else and they're coming from Seattle, Tacoma. We're inheriting somebody else's problem. Our kids, we're a great area. We'll take care of our children, but it's like, we can't take care of everybody's, okay? But I got a couple minutes here, but it's like, man, it just tore my heart out. It's like somebody's thinking that we're gonna get rid of the wooden statue of Sacagawea. I mean, that's the most famous woman I knew in school when I grew up. It's like, and she helped Lewis and Clark, and somebody's gonna get rid of that for an auction and like an eagle, my state bird, like, who comes up with this stuff? Like anybody ready? One of it says requesting city council to authorize surplus of wooden scallops or Sacagawea eagle. Who suggested it? Like,
We don't comment during.
exactly, like, I'll go to my city, but whoever did it is like, gotta think again. I mean, how are kids gonna learn anything if they don't have a statue of Sacagawea, the most famous woman there is, my word.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Seeing none, we'll move on then to the consent agenda with Council President Swarr.
Motion to approve tonight's consent agenda, which includes minutes from the July 30th meeting and accounts payable and payments.
Second.
It's been first and second, so. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Okay, so we'll go on to presentations here. Thank you. I just wanted, before we start presentations, I want to give a little presentation. I'm all about council members and myself included, getting as much education as we can to help us do our jobs. It's we come in off the streets as regular people and not really super educated, but as far as government goes, but whenever the Washington Association of Cities offers opportunities for us to take courses. I always jump on, and so does our newest council person. And so I'm happy to announce that she gets her certificate of leadership from the Washington Association of Cities. All right, so then our next presentation goes to the Office of Chehalis Basin. We're pleased to welcome a presentation from the Office of the Chehalis Basin. Joining us today is Nat Kale. Well, that's not Nat Kale.
Not Nat Kale. Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council members. Vicki Rains, Grace Harbor County Commissioner, District Number 3. I also chair the Chehalis Basin Board. We have a presentation that we've been making to all of the jurisdictions to make better informed and knowledgeable, educated, as you would, if you will, citizens regarding the flood mitigation and flood reduction programs that we are working on and projects that we're working on. Tonight, we do have Nat Kale here. Nat is the principal planner with the Department of Ecology within the Office of Chehalis Basin with an emphasis on natural resources. So he's going to take a few minutes of your time, and then we'll be here for questions. We have a very diverse board representing us, and tonight we get to hear from a little bit of staff. So we appreciate you having us. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Rains.
So much. I am Nat Kale. I'm the principal planner for the Office of Chehalis Basin.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm having trouble with the, showing your presentation, but council members, you do have the presentation in front of you. And for those of you online, their video, the owl isn't working, but I hope that you can hear. Please let me know if you can.
That's okay. I brought my laptop that's back up for this. So I'm prepared. Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you for having me here today. As Vicki mentions, I'm with the Office of Chehalis Basin, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the long-term Chehalis Basin strategy today. I want to start by talking about the Chehalis Basin that we are in right now. This is the second largest basin in Washington State. There are two tribes with a strong interest in this basin, the Confederated Tribes, the Chehalis Reservation, and the Indian Nation. This is a basin of very significant ecological and economic importance to the state. And there are really two main things that the office and the Chehalis Basin Board work on. There are two issues that we're trying very hard to address. That salmon runs have been in dramatic decline over the last several decades, and that floods within the basin are getting bigger and more frequent. I want to talk a little bit about where we started. So really the initiating event for the Office of Chehalis Basin and the Chehalis Basin Board were the floods in 2007 and then again in 2009. Those floods caused nearly $1 billion worth of damages. They shut down segments of I-5 for several days. They put communities' health and safety at risk throughout the basin. Shortly thereafter, the Chehalis River Basin Flood Authority was created, of which this city is a member. And then after that, the governor at the time, Governor Gregoire, brought together a work group to launch a basin-wide plan to address flooding and aquatic species. That work group came together in 2012. And in 2016, the legislature formalized that group into the Chehalis Basin Board. As I said, that came together in 2016, and in 2017, investments started coming through that board and the office for which I work, the Office of Chehalis Basin. Before that, of course, the Flood Authority was already on the ground doing work in the basin. So a little bit about the board. The Chehalis Basin Board, as Vicki mentioned, is an independent, diverse group of community leaders representing tribes, local governments, agricultural interests, economic interests, environmental interests, and also state agencies. The purpose of the board is to develop and provide oversight of the Chehalis Basin strategy. And that is an action plan of near-term investments and long-term planning to reduce flood-related damages and restore aquatic life throughout the Chehalis Basin. The board does their work with a collaborative, integrated approach by bringing people together to talk through all of these issues. The office that I worked for, the Office of Chehalis Basin, is housed within the state's Department of Ecology, and we're the focal point for implementing the Chehalis Basin strategy. We administer state funds, we lead a coalition of partners, and we support the board in their process. And we do this work again by collaborating with a wide variety of partners representing state agencies, local governments, tribes, conservation districts, nonprofit organizations, and basins. A little bit about what we do. Over the last several years, the board and the office have undertaken a number of projects. We do things like work with landowners to slow harmful erosion and restore aquatic habitats for salmon and other life. A good example of this would be a project we did a couple of years ago with the Port of Grace Harbor to stabilize part of the Chehalis River when some of their infrastructure was being threatened to wash into the river. Another thing we do is help residents and communities protect their homes and businesses from flood damages. Last year, we elevated 4 homes up out of flood damage danger. This year, we've got 4 more. There are 2 underway right now. And we've also bought out 2 homes in flood danger in the last couple of years. So these are things we're doing right now on the ground. And then the last category of work we do is prepare the region and future generations for more frequent major and catastrophic flooding, remodeling, planning, and generally looking ahead to what's coming. All in all, in less than a decade, the Chehalis Basin Board and the Office of Chehalis Basin have invested in more than 140 projects. We protected nearly 300 acres of habitat and over 200 homes and businesses on time and on budget. And the reason I am here today is because now through 2026, the Chehalis Basin Board is weighing longer-term options to protect people and aquatic life in areas to come. There are 3 really big questions that the board is wrestling to talk about today. And the first one is really, how much should be invested in aquatic restoration across the basin for the next 30 years? We already have a plan in place called the Aquatic Species Restoration Program, which has already started doing projects at Satsop, the Wainuchi, and other rivers throughout the basin. The question in front of the board is how much do we plan to invest over the next 30 years to really make a difference in those salmon rates, really improve the number of salmon coming down those rivers? The next big question that the board is wrestling with is about large-scale structural flood options that are needed for the upper basin. That could include a proposed flow-through dam near PL, or something you may have heard of. An alternative to that dam has been proposed as well, which would be a system of local levees and flood walls that are primarily in and around Chehalis and Centralia. Or would some combination of both of those things be more appropriate? The flow-through dam near PL is somewhat of a unique structure in that, unlike most dams, it would only hold water in a reservoir during major flood events. Most of the time it would be empty and allow water to flow underneath it. This would be a very large project. It is in environmental review right now. The state is anticipating that they will complete a revised draft environmental impact statement in November of this year, with a final environmental impact statement to come out next year. So that early environmental review for that dam is happening right now as we speak. The other project that is proposed for large-scale flood damage reduction is what we've often referred to as the local actions non-dam alternative for land. And this is a system of levees, 10 separate levees that are proposed in and around Centralia and Chehalis. What is in front of the board is, should they move forward with all of these levees, some subset of them, maybe just a few, none of the levees? Should they do them in concert with the dam or not? So they're looking at all of these different options. And you can see they're proposed in a variety of different places throughout that upper watershed, and will protect the downtowns of Centralia, Chehalis, as well as things like the airport in that area and even around. A third big question that the board is wrestling with now and is going to continue to work on is what is the best pathway forward for the Scoop-and-Chuck Dam? So for those of you who are familiar with the Scoop-and-Chuck River, about halfway up, there is an existing dam. It's owned by the company TransAlta, and it was built to supply their steam generation facility with water. TransAlta is closing down their coal-fired steam generation facility this year. So the question in front of the board is, do they work with TransAlta to change the dam in some way, make it easier for fish to pass upstream or reduce downstream flooding? Do they try and find a way to work with TransAlta to remove that dam while retaining important water rights? Or do they leave it alone? Is the dam appropriate the way it is? In the lower basin around here, the board is planning on continuing to support a lot of the work that they've done already. A good example is the Aberdeen Hopeland Flood Protection Project, which you are all very familiar with. That the board had a hand in helping to get off the ground with some initial planning work and funding some of that beginning study that got the ball rolling. And there have been other local projects and programs to reduce flood risk and flood damages that the board will continue to fund. Pump stations being one that have been funded by the board several times in the past and will continue to be funded in the future. To talk a little bit about where we're at in the process. This past June 2025, the board identified a preliminary suite of 6 long-term strategy options for additional technical analysis through the end of this year. And you have in front of you in your packets a table that shows what those 6 options are. I'm going to go over that really quickly, but what you'll see is in the first 3 or 4 columns, that's where the things that I just mentioned, those big questions come in. So what the board tried to do was group the alternatives together in ways that made sense and narrow the range of options into just these 6 alternatives to keep the technical analysis focused and moving forward quickly. So a good example would be the dam that I mentioned. The first 2 options that they're looking at include the dam. The next 4 do not. For the local actions non-dam alternative, the system of levies, you'll see 5 of those options include some version of those levies. But those first 2, options A and B, are a much more constrained set of levies just around the Scoop-and-Chuck River. The Scoop-and-Chuck Dam, you see there are options for modifying, or removing, or doing nothing. Those are in there as well. And then that 4th column, basin-wide aquatic species restoration. There you'll see in some of them, there's just a check, which is a lower level of investment. In other, there's a check plus, which is a higher level of investment. So the board is looking at these 6 options that are different ways of arranging all those alternatives. Right now, we have technical experts evaluating those 6 options. They're looking at things like how many homes would be protected under each of them? What would be the aquatic species impact? How much do we anticipate that salmon rooms might recover for each alternative? They're looking at long-term economic and environmental effects. How long would roads be shut down under different alternatives during flood events? How would businesses be affected? How many businesses might be flooded? What would the impact be on agriculture? All of these things are part of what the board is looking at. And where we're at now is, the board also wants to hear from local governments like you all, basin partners, community members, on what you're hoping to see for the future of the basin. We have a little bit of a flow chart showing sort of our outreach here, but just in talking it through up through June of this year, we were in the phase of the board developing those strategies, which they have now created. Those are the 6 strategies we just went over. We did some initial work with a webinar. We started these briefings that I'm doing right now with the governments, created a comment form on our website. Now we're in this sort of middle period where these technical analyses are happening as we speak, and we're trying to get more feedback. We've been out at some community events. We went to the Grace Harbor Fair, we went to the Southwest Washington Fair, we went to Chehalis Fest. And we are planning on doing some open houses, which I'll talk about in a little more detail in a second. And we're continuing to do these briefings. We have a handful more. We're going to wrap up with Thurston County in 3 weeks. And then when we get into 2026, We'll keep going with technical analyses, and then the board is going to enter into deliberations once those analyses are complete on which of these options is the one that's best to move forward. And they will, in 2026, finalize their recommended long-term Chehalis Basin strategy. I said I was going to talk a little bit more about open houses. We have 2 of those coming up. We have one on September 25th at the Veterans Memorial Museum, Chehalis. We have another one closer to home for you all on October 8th at Montesano City Hall. Both of those open houses are from 5 to 7:30. They will have technical experts from the dam that I mentioned, from the Local Action Zone Dam Alternative, for aquatic species restoration, folks that you can come and talk to directly about all of those projects and more. If you can't make it to something like that in person, we just this week opened our online open house. You can go to our website, visit that. It has all of the same materials, obviously not the same opportunity to chat with folks who are directly involved in this work, but all of the same information is available online if you can't make it to something in person. Just wrapping up here, really what we're hoping to hear from you all is, what do you want the board to know or consider as it's weighing these long-term options for the basin? And how can we best reach your residents, Aberdeen residents, to engage them in this process? We're hoping to get as much feedback as possible so the board can make the best possible decisions as it moves forward. And then you'll see my last slide has a little information about how you can get a hold of us at the office of chehalisbasin.com. You can go to officeofchehalisbasin.com/LTS for more information about the long-term strategy. And then we do have some online presence on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thank you so much for giving me this time to speak, and I would love to hear anything you have to say about the work we're doing.
Any questions from anybody? Council personalities.
Not a question. My mic's not on. Not a question, but a comment. That the basin.
Still on.
Yes, yes.
There you go.
Thank you. Not a comment. The basin funds a lot of really good work that does impact us very positively. And
the administration and payroll portion is the retention of having availability for people to fill the roles to provide these services. Also in our considerations were our neighbors, the people that we live in the city with. What would the impacts of having service availability being altered, whether it's not available or whether it is available, the service quality of that service, and overall safety for members of the community. We didn't want to have a situation where a parent has to consider whether to make their mortgage or bills or call the ambulance when an ambulance is actually needed. There were what ifs that were considered, like if we need to pay more now and save money in the long run, or if we pay less currently and end up having to make it up later on, potentially with more of a cost associated with it. We considered alternatives to every option, as well as ways to offset any option that we could come across as well. One of the biggest considerations that we wanted to make sure was absolutely there, no matter which options are chosen, is communication of not just the options chosen, but the justification and reasoning for why those options were chosen. And so that's, this is broken into a couple of different factors. We do have immediate actions that we think are things that could be done promptly and have effect real effectively on a more timely process that need addressed sooner. And then we do have longer term strategies as well to go over.
Sorry, I just didn't get off.
Hello, my name is Jamie Onakite and I represent the Sixth Ward. So we're going to begin by sharing our recommendation for the utility rate model. First, I would like to say, like Kevin said, we did not take this task lightly. We are all citizens of Aberdeen and we're very well acquainted with the economic challenges that are present here. Unfortunately, everybody in this room, we have found ourselves with a problem not of our own making and nonetheless requires a solution. Despite the hours of research, expert consultation, and creative brainstorming, we were able to commit to this. We are unable to recommend less than the adoption of a full cost recovery model for EMS services effective January 1st, 2026. Additionally, we would recommend that the city develop and implement a robust communication plan surrounding EMS rates. We've learned so much throughout this process that most people just simply don't have access to. It is our belief that making this information as accessible and transparent as possible can only benefit the city of Aberdeen and its citizens. We suggest starting with clear messaging as to why the increase is necessary, how the funds will be used, and how a functional self-sufficient EMS is an investment in public safety and community well-being. Sorry, I'm running out of breath here a little bit. Baby pushing on my lungs. We recommend these communication efforts go through a variety of channels in order to maximize citizen reach, including via official websites, social media, traditional media, and community engagement. I would like finally to reiterate that we do not make this recommendation lightly. With the remainder of the document in front of you and what we will discuss going forward contains a myriad of suggestions designed to alleviate the burden on citizens, decreased cost of service, and increased revenue from other sources as much as we were able to come up with. And we really appreciate your consideration in these matters.
Teamwork.
Hi, I'm Sam Thurston. I'm the Board at Large Representative. Thank you, Mayor. Our next item here is about credit card processing fees. Currently, these are rolled into the bill and are included. So even if you're paying cash or ACH or credit card, you pay the same bill. But to offset financial losses associated with those credit card transactions, it's recommended that the city implement a service charge on payments made by credit or debit cards. Currently, the city spends 2.3% of the bill on each of these. So that amounts to $132,000 to $168,000 a year. Or if you want to talk monthly, it ranges between $11,000 and $14,000. Rather than continue covering these fees, the city should encourage customers to pay through ACH, which is a secure money transfer between banks. To encourage this, the city should consider offering a one-time monetary credit on utility bills to customers who signed up for ACH. To help boost that and boost those.
Another recommendation that we are making is the adjustment of low-income senior rates. To be adjusted from the current 300% to 200% of the federal property rate. This is not something that we looked at lately. However, with 300% of the federal poverty rate, a family of four, that's $96,450 a year, or a little bit over 8,000 a month. And so reducing that to 200% would take that to 64,300 a year, or 5,358 a month. So we don't feel that it would be substantial enough to be horribly impactful. Another thing that this does is it helps ensure equitable access for vulnerable populations and balances affordability with the city's need to sustain essential services. We also recommend regular review of this threshold to maintain fairness and financial feasibility. We also recommend that with this, 2 years after the implementation of this rate and with thorough data collection, the city should consider expanding its rate offerings to include a general low income rate that could be applied to not just those that are at a senior rate.
I'm Madison Smith. I'm the representative for Ward 2. Another option we put out there was round up and reoccurring donations on utility bills. We propose giving residents the ability to voluntarily round up their monthly utility bill to the nearest dollar. It's simple, no pressure way to contribute, and the idea is that those extra cents go towards helping neighbors who may be struggling to pay their bills. All proceeds from the Roundup program would be dedicated to utility assistance, ensuring transparency and impact. It's a way to build community support from within the community itself. This is a low barrier, low cost option for residents who want to help. Even small donations, when multiplied across hundreds or more of accounts, can create a substantial pool of assistance funding. In addition to the Roundup feature, we also recommend allowing residents to set up recurring monthly donations directly through their utility accounts at any amount they choose. Reoccurring donations would help create a more predictable and sustainable stream of support for utility assistance, giving the city more flexibility in planning and distributing aid where it's most needed.
I am Michelle Nipper. I am from Ward 5, and our next one is community risk reduction, data-driven outreach and campaign for appropriate use of EMS services. With this one, we're looking at with the community risk reduction, places that have higher call volumes compared to the level of services. If you have a lot of calls coming through, your EMS services aren't gonna necessarily be there for people who need them. So a lot of people are using it for things like their chronic conditions. Instead of going to like urgent care or the primary care physician, using public education campaigns to better inform our citizens on how to use our EMS services through different forms of communication, whether it's on social media, teaching them about what the impacts of the constant calls are, using what the risks are of using our EMS services the wrong way instead of the correct way. We can do this, find out how our citizens feel and what they think our EMS services are supposed to be used for through different kinds of surveys, using those outcomes, potential outcomes to help with our public education, getting out citywide messages, and even using community campaigns initiatives.
Okay, we also recommend that the city direct the fire department to enhance its data collection for EMS calls to include the nature, frequency, and outcomes of service calls. Our discussions with Chief Golding have indicated that this data would not be difficult for them to obtain. And increasing the granularity of the data that is already being collected would allow the city to make more data-driven decisions for everything from policy to public education to opportunities for external funding. This data should be standardized, reported to the council annually, and ideally made available and accessible to and readable by the public at large. We had also discussed possibly implementing a call threshold charge for high volume EMS users. As you know, currently Aberdeen residents do not pay for EMS calls beyond what their insurance covers. We do not recommend changing this as it promotes the health and well-being of our neighbors. However, we do recommend that the city explore the possibility of setting an annual limit for services calls to a household beyond which a nominal per call fee might be implemented. We are aware that there may be certain circumstances and restrictions that prevent the implementation of the suggestion. However, we believe it is still worth exploring.
So that was our short-term strategies. Those are some things that we can implement quickly and efficiently. And long-term strategies, these are tools, processes, and systems that we believe the city should consider implementing in the foreseeable future as a path to financial sustainability for our EMS services. The first one I'll talk about is a nurse triage hotline. It's close to my heart. A nurse triage hotline is a part of the 911 dispatch that is not currently in use in Grace Harbor. The program allows dispatchers to connect callers with more appropriate care. They're a group of referring RNs that can set up doctor's appointments, encourage self-care, or can encourage someone to find an urgent care appointment in their local community. This frees up emergency resources. It actually improves patient outcomes and studies. And to do that, it connects patients with long-term medical care and it reduces overall costs. In other jurisdictions, this is shown to reduce EMS response to non-emergent calls by 40%. An increase in It shows that those patients then increased their primary care visits, and it did not delay care as suspected. All the studies found that it worked out well. This is also shown to improve outcomes for vulnerable populations by addressing the complex needs of these patients. To implement this, it would be a multi-year project that would require the participation of many partners, including Grace Harbor 911. I'll turn it over to Ken.
Another long-term strategy would be one-time annual rebate program for low-income households, in which we could establish an annual rebate program allowing households earning up to 200% of the federal poverty level to receive a discount of, excuse me, of up to 10% of their annual utility bill. This helps ensure that our most vulnerable are still able to make their bills, while preserving the overall revenue integrity for the city to continue providing these services. With the caveat that if a general low income rate is established, the rebate program should be eliminated. But the Utility Rate Advisory Committee acknowledges that all people should be able to afford to pay their bills. And we feel that this would be one way that we could assist with that.
I'm Deb Wilson, Ward 1, and I want to talk about grant funding. It's a very common way that localities fund various municipal activities. It's a viable option to make up for budget deficiencies in every aspect of the local government that does not increase the burden on the citizens. The city should direct staff to pursue federal, state, and private grant opportunities aimed at enhancing EMS capabilities and offsetting operational costs. Long-term grant strategies may include securing funds for capital equipment, training, and technology upgrades, as well as exploring grant partnerships with regional jurisdictions. Although the city's in a budget deficit, once stabilized, the city should recruit or contract with a professional grant writer to aggressively pursue competitive funding opportunities that could more than pay for the position by securing recurring and project-based awards. A good grant writer should be able to find grants that the average person wouldn't think would be related, extending the potential availability of grant funding possibilities. The city should be mindful to include reporting of grants in duties.
Our next one under the long term is investment in economic development. It is our suggestion that the city does expand its investment into the economic development to grow our city's tax base. Increase our private investments in business activities will also help to generate some new revenue streams that could also be turned into reinvestments into our public safety and essential services that the city needs. And we also would like to applaud the city council for the development and creation of the economic committee.
Lastly, in here, we also have some voter approved initiatives for consideration. They're all written in this packet for you, but they include a levy for other general funded programs, issuance of a bond for fire and police facilities, creation maybe of a vice tax, increase in sales tax, and the possible creation of an EMS district, a municipal fire district, or regional fire district. In conclusion, the challenges facing Aberdeen EMS and public safety require both immediate action and long-term strategic planning. The short-term recommendations outlined in this report offer practical solutions to stabilize revenues and encourage responsible use of services. The long-term recommendations provide pathways to structurally reform, expand funding capacity, and modernize our service delivery. Taken together, these measures will ensure that the city of Aberdeen can continue to provide high-quality EMS services in a sustainable and equitable manner. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. You guys did a great job. Yes.
The council workshop again is with the URAC, or the Utility Rate Advisory Committee, next Wednesday at 6 o'clock. And then the council meeting, the hope is that we'll take it to a vote for us to authorize a rate cut to whatever the council decides at that point. So, on Wednesday, the 24th at 6:30.
Thank you. All right, so, for the mayor's report, I just have a list of, I know we did, thank you guys too, I appreciate it. For the mayor's report, I didn't get to sit down and do nothing for August, so, but it was fun not having to come to city council, sorry. It was kind of nice. On the 8th, the city had its, I don't know if it's the first, but we had an employee picnic, it turned out really nice. We had it up at Sandbed Park, and we hope to do this on a yearly basis. Nice way to recognize our employees. I was amazed that there was longevity awards given out, and people really like to work for our city, and they stay here a long time. So that's a good comment to all the directors out there and taking care of your people. I also went to the swearing in of Officer Nick Bailey's a new officer. I believe he comes from Cosmopolis. Okay. Anyway, nice guy. He's kind of short, but he'll work for college. I just want taller people. Anyway, then let's see here. I attended a sergeant testing at Foursquare Church out in Central Park, where we test our officers that want to be a sergeant, and what an interesting process. It's very thorough. I hate to be one of those cops going through that ringer, but one person wins and the rest are upset, unfortunately. But what a wonderful process, and it was really nice to hear the officers talk about their situations and how they would react. Let's see, and looking at more testing from the Association of Washington Cities. So I just last week saw OPMI legal requirements. Video was a really nice video telling me about all the legal requirements we have to have an open public meeting process. I already know most of them, but it's a nice refresher. I also saw just today Washington, they have an ethics laws, well, understanding Washington's ethic laws, and I saw that this afternoon. It was a really eye opener too. It was really pertinent to a lot of stuff that happened today at City Halls. It was really nice. Let's see, a few of the things I just wanted to point out just for the council is have your ethics laws. As a council, we should stand by our votes that the council comes by. Even though we may not have voted in favor of it, that particular vote, we still as a council need to all come together and stand behind all of our votes. Speaking as one voice, I think we need to work on that as a council. Having one voice that we present to the community instead of this individually posting our comments and adding division in there. Losing businesses and residents because people watch our city council meetings, and if they see a dysfunctional city council, businesses are less likely to want to come to our city. And also the last one I thought was everybody has dirty laundry, but we probably don't need to show everybody our dirty laundry. So, those are just wonderful little things I got. And the final thing I wanted to mention was, I just want to praise our public works for the enormous amount of work that has taken place this summer. Those boys and girls worked really hard. We have new sidewalks, new striping, new plants coming in, new trees. And it's not just all in one little spot of the city, it's spread around so everybody gets a little love. And that's my comments. Viva Aberdeen. That's all I have for my report. Are there any city council reports? Seeing none, we'll move on to the staff reports. Are there any director? I'm sorry. Oh. Okay, sorry. You can go with yours, but then I'll let, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm gonna let director, let's go, administrator plans go first.
It has been, welcome back, City Council. It has been a very busy month for staff, as you hopefully are seeing around town with all the new sidewalks and the infrastructural changes that we're making. But that aside, we've also made a lot of positive movement as far as our long-term projects go as well. When it comes to public works, I commend the work of Public Works Director Rick Sanger and City Engineer Nick Bird, who have been working tirelessly on some of the projects that we received funding for in order to kind of meet those deadlines so we can report out to our legislators of how we're using the funding. We're also in we also began union negotiations with 4 different unions, so we'll be discussing that later today in a closed session. But I thank work of Danny Smith, our HR director, who has organized all of those with the unions and has been instrumental in kind of looking out for the city and making sure we get a fair shake when it comes to these negotiations. We're also working on the Wainuchi Dam project. We have met with Tacoma Power to discuss the future of the city's license. And so more to come on that as more unfolds. We did meet with our attorney as well to discuss that, but that will be a major undertaking for the city. So please, we will have, when we have more information, we'll report out, we will. Lastly, I also want to commend the work of our police department and our drug task force and the things that they've done around the city. They are really cleaning up the city and cleaning up a lot of the houses that have been terrorizing some of our neighborhoods with drug sales and drug usage. So I really want to thank Chief Green as well as the Grace Harbor Task Force and the work that they've done. Lastly, I would like to point out something that we piloted in the month of August. And that is a mobile surveillance unit. That was an idea that came from Councilperson Hodgkin, who recommended to me to try this out. I don't know if all of you have been to Safeway and have seen those mobile units that sit and kind of alert people of its presence, as well as to like move along if they're loitering for too long. We launched one of those and we partnered with Twin Star Credit Union as well as A1 Roofing and to pilot this program for 30 days. And we had immediate results. The alley cleared out. There was no more issues. Again, that was also in concert with an effort by the Grace Harbor Drug Task Force. But we've seen this, and today I believe we moved the unit again. So I want to see, and if this thing turns out to be successful, like be aware that we may come to you to see about purchasing one of these and moving it around the city and using it. It's been great. We've seen, lieutenants and sergeants log on to look at to see the activity that's going on. But again, it is acting as a deterrent and it seems to be working very well. So thank you again, Councilmember Hodgkin, for that idea. And so far it's been very successful. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right, now we'll go to Director Scott.
Thank you. I just want to give a shout out to community development, who often gets overlooked. I mentioned last time that we were on track to do $1 million in permit revenue. We hit that in August, first time ever in our history for the city. That's amazing. We're seeing a lot of development happen. We participated in the first ever Grace Harbor Housing Summit where we did a presentation, and I want you guys to know that community development got lots of kudos for not only helping development, but also the work we've done with the rental housing program as well as code enforcement. I'm sure you've all seen the cleanup that's happened in conjunction with Public Works, but we're out every day walking the sidewalks, moving people along, and really trying to keep our community clean. So I want you to know we are working. We've done a lot of cleanups. I think some of you have recognized that, and we really, code enforcement in particular, really appreciates the feedback because a lot of times what they do isn't the most attractive jobs, and they get a lot of pushback. So I just really shout out to community development because again, we often get overlooked, but we are really busting it hard this year. So thank you.
Doing a great job. Thank you. All right, Director Barnum.
Thank you. I want to give you an update from the Arts Commission meeting that was held yesterday. They took a tour of the artwork downtown, in particular the critters, and took a look at the illumination. I did contact the artist, George, I know I'm going to butcher his name, Tasudakawa, and he'll be here on the 15th to evaluate the illumination, which is the starburst art on the corner of I Street and Wishcott Street by the library. And while he's here, we're going to also ask him to take a look at the fountain in front of City Hall. I did submit a permit to Washington State Department of Transportation for the Wishcott River Bridge sign, and so that has been approved. They hope to have that permit to me by the end of this week, and then I can move forward with a request for quotes to hire a sign company to manufacture and do the installation of the new Welcome to Aberdeen sign on the Chehalis or the Wishcott River Bridge. And lastly, there are some items on the agenda coming from the Parks Director. They were all discussed in Finance Committee, so I'll let Councilperson Prado go over the discussion from that meeting. But I did want to also mention regards to bringing back to the table the request to hire an appraiser to appraise the city's museum collection. If the council is interested in either transfer of the collection or selling the collection, both our attorneys and the Washington State Auditor's Office have advised us that it will be required that we hire a professional appraiser to appraise the collection if you choose to move forward with that. Thank you.
And do you know how much the appraiser will be by any chance?
I did receive a rough estimate of $10,000, but they said it will really depend on how much of the inventory we have already input into our database. So this request to you now is to allow me to send out the request for qualifications. Once I receive and once a consultant is selected and we have a cost estimate, then that contract with that cost will be brought to you to approve. So this is not a request from you to approve the hiring of an appraiser at this time. This is just the opportunity to send the request for qualifications out so that I can get an estimate for you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other directors for the reports? Okay. On to request for council action from Finance Chair Prado.
Request that the city, request the city council to authorize the surplus of the bronze bust of the former mayor Ed Lundgren and either return it to the family or be sold at auction. What do I understand?
Yeah.
Okay.
You make the motion and somebody else second.
Second.
Thank you. We have a first and second. Is there any discussion? Councilperson Morrison.
A couple real quick comments. I've heard from a lot of people. These are pieces of our history. They are truly relevant and significant. My question is to you guys, why are you bringing this to us? And if for some reason this absolutely cannot stay at City Hall, don't you think it might be prudent to consider maybe talking to the Museum Collections Committee and seeing if these items are something that they might be interested in. So I'm just curious as why it was brought.
So Councilmember Kratos, if you would like to amend that.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we actually change that and to, I'm sorry, I was waiting for somebody else to make this. We'd like to make a motion that we actually offer this to the museum collection instead of, authorizing a sale.
I second.
Right, any more discussion on that? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I would just like to, I would have the same question as to why these need to be moved from City Hall.
We're just paying up, we're just.
There's-
Lobby and.
There's a collection of art and it was not to offend anybody. I think that should be stated up front. There's a collection of artwork in the lobby that, especially like Art Walk, there's lots of like portrait or painting or posters, they're posters, in City Hall. Again, we heard the feedback and we're happy to make that change. Again, it was not to offend anyone. And there's no, with that particular bus, there's nothing written on there. Nobody here that works at the city has the context. We are happy to dig deeper. I've spoken to a couple people since then. The wooden artwork in there is not Sacagawea. There's no indicator that it is Sacagawea. It was a piece of artwork that was donated by a former council member. And it was made by at a chainsaw event, wood carving event. And so, again, there's just a hodgepodge, or the lobby of City Hall is becoming this place to just put things that aren't really emphasizing the majesticness that a City Hall lobby should have. So, but yes, agreed with the bus. So.
And I also add in regards to the wooden chainsaw sculpture in the museum collection committee scope of the collection, we're supposed to be assessing pieces that have significance to Aberdeen and Aberdeen's history.
So that sculpture would not qualify
No.
with their.
Well, if you follow the scope of the collection, because as you know, we're trying to reduce the size of the city's collection. And again, nothing against the artwork that's in the lobby. But for me, and I'm not on the museum's collection committee, but based on the scope of the collection language, that would not fit probably within that criteria. But it doesn't mean you can't refer it to the collections committee. Just something to keep in mind.
Thank you.
It's a first encouraging.
I'm curious.
Maybe those ones we can turn around.
Yeah,
Just. Okay. Would it be possible to donate the carving to the wellness clinic because it is a Native American
That's good.
carving? And,
Good idea.
and they have a lobby and they might appreciate that and it still stays in Aberdeen. And it's appreciated. But that's just, you know, just.
Great idea, Debbie.
Second. Yeah,
So do we need to
So there's,
modify?
yeah,
Yeah.
they're mentioned. Or.
I'll do that. I'll make a motion to modify item B so that we surplus that wooden sculpture.
We still have item A.
Oh, okay, we're not doing them together.
Yeah,
No,
Sorry. I bet. Play the newbie.
we're on the bronze bus.
which is, it was amended to not be sold at auction. Instead, we refer to either see if the family wants it or to put it in, check in with the museum to see if they would take it as to include it in the museum collection.
Right.
Right, that's the
That's
item.
on the table. So,
Debbie seconded. Okay.
okay, so is there any further discussion? All in favor of
Same exact to it. Yeah.
saving? No, we're working on that button right now. All in favor of. Yeah, we'll see if the, but not wellness.
What, excuse me, what is on the table right now is
we're going to the museum.
that for the Lundgren bus is to either check in with his family to see if they would like it, or to include it in the museum collection. That is what's on the table right now.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Right, thank you. Now we'll move on to, okay.
Yes, don't we have to do actually pass the amendment, but not the amendment, the actual motion?
Yeah.
Should we pass it as?
Yes.
So we've just amended it.
Yes,
this
we
one, we
amended
have to.
Pass
All right, all in favor of passing the motion as amended?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, now let's move on to the wooden sculpture. Wooden,
Not yet.
it's kind of the same.
We're requesting the city council to authorize the surplus of the wooden sculpture of Sacagawea and Eagle and to be sold at auction.
Second.
Second.
Now,
We amended that.
we're amending it to say that we're gonna offer the wellness center.
And we're amending, like to amend that to offer to the wellness center.
I have a first and a second. Is there any more discussion on this?
Yeah, if they don't want it, then is the city free to put it up for?
So we offer it to our collection committee first, and then it would go up for auction.
Okay.
Okay, so just to be clear, are you wanting to offer it to the museum as well?
Well, it's Stacy did museum and we did more.
Okay, so what the amendment is to first offer it to the wellness center or the Quinault Tribe.
Yes.
And Quinault Wellness Clinic. Or to surplus it.
Right.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Right, thank you.
I have to do it twice a year.
All right, Scott, you're still up. Number C.
Request for the city council to authorize the parks director to order the rumble steep slide for the Finch replacement for the amount of not to exceed $17,309.68.
Second.
Is there any discussion on this?
Should we talk about the fact that the other one got vandalized
Yeah,
and it has to be replaced? Yeah.
And so I just for the community at large, if you see anybody, adults, like hanging around messing with children in our park with their equipment, their toys, I call the cops. Yeah, because that slide's got a big hole in it now. And if I was a fiberglass worker, I could fix it, but now we're out 17 grand because of this. So
I just want to say that, not too long ago, for the last couple of months, I was at Finch Park and had some parents come up to me and ask me what we were gonna do about that slide. So there are people who really would like to have this replaced for their kids.
they use it. Yeah. All right. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Two passes.
And then we have a request from the Parks Director to authorize the submission for a request for proposal to the inventory and appraisal of the city's museum collection.
Second.
Is there any discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. All right, now we'll move to public safety with council with chair.
Okay, we, don't need to update on the police department because Mayor Orr already did, so that's great. But that's okay. We have a staffing update, for the fire department. Engineer Chris Raffleson retired from the Aberdeen Fire Department on September 5th, 2025, after 22 years of service with the Aberdeen Fire Department. We have 2 vacancies for 2 firefighter paramedic positions, and 1 conditional job offer is already pending. And there will be firefighter paramedic testing September 25th, 2025.
That's all.
Right, thank you. Now we'll go on to Public Works. Is there, any report? Yes, Chair Francie.
I had a parental emergency yesterday's Public Works meeting, had to leave. Appreciate Nick working on this update on Public Works ongoing projects. As summer winds down, so do many of our transportation improvements. This week, you may have noticed some big changes on Market and First Street. New striping and flexible lawns were installed to help slow vehicle speeds and make crossings safer for pedestrians. Soon, a rapid rectangular flashing beacon will also be added at Market and M Street once the equipment arrives. Crosswalk maintenance and striping are also planned at the newly revised intersections along Market Street, though the work hasn't yet been scheduled. Speaking of Market Street, on September 23rd, the traffic signals will be covered. This should help reduce some of the confusion we're seeing along the corridor. At the two intersections that now operate as two-way stops, signs will be added to the existing signal wires to remind drivers that cross traffic does not stop. The full removal of the signal equipment has not been scheduled. Further today, the final concrete pour for the Market Street sidewalk replacement project was completed. The next phase of this work will focus on landscape. In the near future, city crews will be planting street trees in accordance with recently updated zoning. In addition, staff is preparing a policy and maintenance agreement for right-of-way beautification, which will allow adjacent property owners to install landscaping improvements within the designated areas along the section of road. With utility work, the wastewater treatment plant improvement project continues moving ahead. Our operations staff continue to manage the plant while sections of the facility are under construction. They're doing an excellent job keeping everything in compliance, even as their workplace is essentially being remodeled around. And last but not least, we received the 90% North Shore levee construction drawings last week. Staff will be reviewing the construction package as we continue moving towards our goal of shovel ready. We do not have a timeline of our environmental review that is currently underway. But our hope is that, given the similarities to the recently approved North Shore levee west in Houlton, the environmental review process should be fairly straightforward for federal agency review. And so thanks to the Public Works crews for keeping our city moving.
Thank you. Okay, next move on to special agenda items with Council President Scores.
Yes, we have a request that the city council deassess 52 items listed from the museum collection. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Adopted.
Next, we have a request that the city council confirm the mayor's appointment of Katie Williamson to the finance director position. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
Is there any discussion on this? Councilperson Morrison.
Okay, so, I've talked to the mayor a little bit about this on the phone, but I did want to just go over it with council just briefly. When did Ms. Williamson start?
No exact date.
August 25th.
To me, that's a big problem because you're just not seeking council approval. And it kind of just feels like we've been stuck up on the shelf and our approvals relegated to, an afterthought. I'm not negating the need for a finance director, and I'm sure Ms. Williamson will do a wonderful job. But in the past, when the mayor has made an appointment, that person did not start the employee of the city until there was approval from the council. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Thank you. Passes.
Mr. Mayor. Before we move on to public comments, I'd like to make a motion to extend the meeting up until 9:30 p.m.
That's all. 9:30? Yeah, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Our meeting's extended to some later. All right, we go back to public comments. Are there any people in the community here like to make another public comment? You got 3 minutes and please be kind and start off with your name and your ward.
I know that, yeah. But well, it seems like a real important position is like a finance director. We not have one for 3 years, which is crazy. Anyway, I don't know how you base your decision once you got numbers, but like to actually vote on somebody that you don't know their qualifications, where they were, is there somebody that wrote a letter of reference for her? Just to let them, that's an unbelievable powerful position. And like for you to give your approval on somebody you don't know, it's like we're asking you, it's like the public, that's supposed to be your job. We can't do your job. So we vote for you to check out who these people are. Yeah. But I wouldn't say like they said, the one lady got commented is like, you can just give us a month or two just to figure out like, who are these people? So, but anyway, you know, maybe she's a great gal, but, like who recommended her in the first place? And I kind of trace it from there, but anyway, thank you for that comment.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? And then we'll move on for the good of the order. Or wait a minute, or do we want to? Good of the order. Anybody have anything right now for the good of the order? Council personnel?
Yes, this coming Saturday is Grace Harbor Pride, which will be at the seaport. Pretty much running all day and maybe even into the evening. And that will be a fun time with interactive things to take advantage of. Hopefully the weather will cooperate. What are the times? I don't remember, but I'm thinking it starts at 10. 10 to 7 or something like that.
Okay, thank you. Anything else for the good of the order? No?
So, Mayor, you know, so we will, how this is going to work, it's going to be a little wonky because we added an executive session. We will go into closed session and talk. And then, we will have to come back in, reconvene, and then excuse ourselves back into, and then you'll excuse yourselves, back into officially into executive session. And then you can talk in there and then you'll have to come back in. If you need to extend, you can extend. You need to tell me how many minutes you need, and then if you need to extend, you'll have to send someone out to come and inform the group that you need to extend. So, okay. And I can explain that more and one more time if you need, but, we'll go into closed session.
I'll make a motion to move into closed session to discuss personnel matters related to strategies for collective bargaining agreements or employment conditions when discussion in a public meeting would harm the body's negotiating positions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.